It's quite amazing, the contrast. I feel when I'm paying attention to the world, when I'm out and about and I'm observing the world and I'm thinking along the lines of what's going on in the world, how to participate in this competitive and highly structured world. I feel anxiousness. I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something that I'm missing out. I'm not working hard enough. I should be making more money. I should be producing something. I should be doing something important. And all this feeling of should, this obligation, just sucks the life out of me. And I feel this weight in the world. I believe other people feel this too. When I observe other people, they look even more drained than I feel. It seems like the vast majority of people have just been drained of joy and purpose. However, when I come back to my inner sanctuary, this place of rest inside myself, I feel relief. I let go of the world. I let go of other people's opinions. I let go of the shoulds. In letting go, there's this apprehension. This fear of letting go, that I'll let go of something that I should hang on to. But then as I examine what it is that I feel I need to hang on to, there's a voice that says, you can let go of this too. It's always this abstract, unknown fear of what might happen. Kind of always boils down to being alone and helpless. As I'm walking or driving around, and I see people who appear to be homeless, who look to be in a bad situation. And there's many in the town that I live in. It seems like this is the epitome of the fear of ending up in a place like that. But I don't think that they're there from just letting go. My belief is that they're there because of self-destruction. An extreme disempowerment, resulting from trauma and pain that's been internalized, that they've identified with, that they're so desperate to escape that they'll run away from themselves. They'll poison themselves to escape the self-hatred. But it's inescapable, of course. For me, the letting go is letting go of those messages of self-hatred that are ultimately rooted in the world's definitions, the world's demands. To be honest, I don't know how to be entirely free of the world's demands. I don't entirely know how to feel successful and completely create my own ideal reality. Perhaps that wouldn't even be ideal. I take some solace. I feel some affirmation in the fact that I currently am not living on the street. I'm not currently homeless. And I'm not doing self-destructive things. I'm making choices to build myself up, to focus on my health, my well-being, based on internal dialogue, internal impulse, internal alignment with my values. My belief is that that will lead me to a place of freedom and what I call success. Where I'm at peace within myself. And I'm able to accept the world as it is. Both of those things are difficult for me. But I'm working on it. I've been in much worse places than I am now. I feel that I'm in a good place right now. And I have hope that I will continue to be in a good place. I believe that my current trajectory is positive. I'm not getting too far ahead of myself. I don't know what the future brings. But I am more and more clear about how to proceed. And it's returning to basic practices. Things like meditation, exercise, proper nutrition, finding outlets, creative expression, and always remembering that it's for me. My relationship with myself is paramount. This isn't at the expense of others. Because I believe fundamentally there are no others. We're all interconnected. I think this is sometimes what trips me up a bit, is my empathy and my care about the world. When I see things that are troubling, I internalize them. I take them personally. I feel anger that things don't match the way that I think they could or should be. I'm frustrated by my powerlessness or my feelings of powerlessness to change the world. But I'm reminded that my job and the path to peace is not about changing the world, but about changing myself. about shedding light on those parts that are asking for evolution. And focusing on the enthusiasm and excitement that comes from within in response to observing problems. I now have a great capacity to envision solutions. They are often quite idealistic, and so the challenge is in finding ways to implement them. And that divide often feels so great. But it feels futile when I try to match my vision to the world. But what is important and the way of greatest efficacy is if I stay with my excitement, my wisdom, my aesthetic, when I stay with my own sensibility and excitement, I can maintain that energy and enthusiasm. I can let go of the world as it appears to be. And I can pour myself into whatever incremental step makes sense for me to take next, to take now. Sometimes it feels like that's too slow. It's too weak. It's not going to change anything. How can a little video or a piece of writing change anything? Nobody's going to even see it anyways. But I think that, again, it is about, and maybe change is not the right word, but building that momentum within myself. One of my Qigong teachers, in teaching about the importance of meditation practice being regular, suggested that if you want to boil water and you put it on the stove in a pot and you turn on the heat, but just as it's warming up, you turn it off. And then it cools down, and then you turn it on again, then you turn it off again. it never gets to that boiling point. You need to keep the heat on to eventually bring it to that boiling point. And I think this is why persistence, no matter how small of an effort, that persistence is what pays off. Not giving up. And that's difficult when we don't even know what the end goal is. I mean, it might not be able to see the end goal. Because maybe there's not an end goal. Maybe it's the journey that is the most important. Of each moment, coming back to that inner awareness that provides everything, that provides the enthusiasm and the impulse to do something that we want to do, even if it doesn't have a world-changing purpose to it. Something as simple as these videos that I've been making that very few may ever watch. It's an important thing for me to do each day. It really does feel beneficial. It does feel satisfying. And as I review them, there's something very affirming that I took the time to open up, to share myself. The little bit of bravery, the little bit of honesty. It doesn't need to be world-changing or life-changing. It's just a little bit of momentum that keeps me going forward. And I just have to trust that my life has a design. That there's a reason that I'm here. I often feel confused about this. There's this great pressure inside, but then I feel like nobody in the world. I feel like I could die and nobody would notice, and I would not have left any kind of a mark on the world, any kind of contribution. I don't know that that's the reason to be here, is to mark up the world. Sometimes I think that I want to just be a witness, an observer. But there is also a desire to make sense of it all. Like some kind of cartographer of this strange place. I often feel like I'm living in a movie or a dream. That I'll wake up from it to a world that makes sense. Because so much of this one, to me, just doesn't. Even when I spend time in a kind of idealized version of the world, I still don't entirely see what the purpose could be. I get to this place where I think I'm overthinking. I've got too much time on my hands. But then I look at other people and I think it's, in a way, my reaction to the world that is severely lacking in the willingness to examine and reflect on reality. I feel like what would be satisfying for me is to retreat from the world to a place in nature where time stretches out and is more spacious. There's room to breathe. There's joy in just being without striving, without pushing, without competing. Where nothing needs to be done. This is the space that I am able to contact within myself. And it's quite blissful. Right now, I feel it quite powerfully. Almost to the point of having little desire to speak. to do anything really. I don't know what this says about me. I've often thought that it suggests a kind of otherworldliness, that I'm from somewhere else. And I've been dropped in this place of busyness and anxiety and ignorance. This highly dysfunctional world. And I wonder why am I here? And I think that the reason is because it is the polar opposite of what I'm comfortable with, which is this deep stillness and spaciousness. But that is a sort of inertia. And that perhaps my soul wants to overcome that and learn how to translate my deep understanding and wisdom into the world, into action, into form. Feels like a very mighty task. It seems like the odds are stacked against me. And yet, in my experience in this world, I've seen people with much greater obstacles, tremendous disabilities, and painful situations. And when I take count of my life, I am able to recognize the blessings. I'm able to recognize the opportunity that I still have to do amazing things there's really very little, probably nothing at all, that's actually stopping me from doing anything I want to do. But what do I want to do? Seems when I begin to want, there's 10,000 things. I definitely feel like this is part of my chironic wound in the third house, is that my energy gets divided. It's just like the Lover's card, where there's a bird in the hand and there's two in the bush. And you sacrifice the one in the hand to go after the two in the bush. I take leaps of faith and then have regret. And then when I examine that, I wonder, what was I going after anyways? What is it that I really want? I think something that I do want is co-creation with a romantic partner. To find someone that I feel a kinship with in this life, a safety and an intimacy. Someone who I can give to and care for. And receive those things from them as well. I feel like if I had somebody like that in my life, then I could take on the world. But it seems so hard to find somebody that is a match for me, that sees me in the way that I want to be seen. It takes the time to actually see me beyond the surface. My standard is high, I realize. And I can be quite judgmental of people. Because I tend to see through them, and I see their tactics, and that many people are behaving in divided ways. They're operating unconsciously, and part of that unconsciousness is manipulative and vampiric. I want to be with somebody that is as conscious and awake as I am. I know I'm not at the pinnacle of wakefulness, if there's such a thing, but I feel like a rarity in this world. I know there are a lot of brilliant and enlightened people in this world, but they're not in my life. They're not in my vicinity. When I do come across people that I think there's a chance that they're on a similar wavelength, they're not homosexual men, they're not available. And this kind of achievement of having a romantic partner seems like something that you can't really put effort into. Especially not in these modern times. There's a lot of apprehension about somebody that is trying too hard. So it's a real puzzle for me. But I know that ultimately it's within me. Ultimately, it is about me growing somehow. And I think it's interesting, this axis that is obviously important within me, this Aries Libra axis, self and other, self and relationship. And it is one thing, it's an axis. I do believe that the more I fully embrace who I am and resolve any underlying dysfunction, that person that is the right fit for me will come into view. At the same time, it's important, I think, to consider that other as existing within myself. So not waiting for that other person to show up in the world, but have this relationship with them within myself. It seems like a strange thing, but I think that it's the way. It is it is the way to work through this need, this lesson, this desire in the most effective way. But perhaps it's essential. It's the only way to really get the desired outcome. I think people are trying to do that with another physical person in the world, but it often is frustrated. The very fact that there is somebody outside of ourselves thwarts some of that inner work in owning these things. So for example, in my chart, in the 7th house, the house of relationship, is both Mars and Saturn. I need to own these things. I need to integrate them. They are the planets that rule my sun sign and my rising sign, so they're very, very important to me. And yet they seem to dwell outside of myself. That's what my astrology suggests. And when I contemplate it, I see the accuracy of that. For example, Mars in Cancer in the 7th house, that drive for nurturing and care is most stimulated when there's somebody to care for. And when I'm by myself, then I lose my drive to do these things. As soon as there's somebody that is on the horizon, there's a possibility, then all of a sudden I have this drive to improve my life, my health, my home, my everything that gives me a sense of comfort and nourishment, safety, because I want to provide that for somebody else. And I know that I don't like the idea of somebody observing me as depleted, as hungry, as malnourished or needy. And yet that's often how I feel, especially when I feel alone. I feel like somebody that's left out on the street. I feel like somebody that's been discarded. And then I don't have that motivation to care for myself. So I think this is also why I empathize with people when I see them in the world. They don't feel valued, and so they don't value themselves. And they don't have the motivation to change that. I don't think it's so extreme in myself because of the things that I have done and continue to do. That all the self-relationship stuff, anything that is self-care is about building that relationship with oneself. And that brings in these seemingly external archetypes, such as parents or lover, and it brings it into ourself so that we can be those things for ourselves. And it's an integration of these different components that we project outward. When I think about that, sometimes I think, oh, this is just going to lead me to be totally on my own and self-contained, and this is like in the Beatles movie, the Yellow Submarine, the Nowhere Man. This lone wolf, isolation and loneliness. But I think this is the thing that I need to face and push through and realize that what it means is that there will, as long as I'm living in the world, there will always be projections of internal aspects of myself out in the world. But those projections will improve as I evolve them within myself. They'll evolve in the world. That's the inclination that I get. That's the intuition that I get about it. And so, even though it's not apparent, it's not evident, I do trust that inner inclination, that inner voice. I do believe it's true. And I believe it's why I'm still here and I'm able to face each day. Despite feeling tremendous burden, I do have a lot of inner strength as well. And that's what I can intend to continue building on.